what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football, and welcome back to our Friday live stream. I am lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Pleased to be joined by the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Bobby Burton, and the newest member of the On Texas Football family, my good friend and now co-worker. It's Jeff Howe, the man who needs no introduction. We got a lot to get into on the show today. You got Texas relays happening, which means you got some great athletes that are already on campus. But hopefully for football, that means they can get some of these guys to, obviously kind of take another look at Texas. We'll talk about that too with some guys already on campus. Hopefully Texas can take advantage of that. We'll get into some spring football nuggets on the show as well. And also there's some Texas basketball news potentially to get to. So we'll talk about all that and more. But of course, you guys know how it works. You guys drive the show any direction you want to. Super chats jump to the front of the line. You can interrupt the show at any time, and we'll try to get to as many questions and comments as we can throughout the show. Thank you guys for joining us on a Friday. We know you got a lot going on. Happy weekend to everybody. Happy Friday. And we appreciate everybody joining us on the show today. All right, gentlemen, let's get right to it. Texas relays happening. So that means you got a lot of high-level, world-class athletes on campus, and Texas football looking to take advantage of that by potentially getting some kind of unofficial visits and looks from some of these great prospects. Who do you guys know that may be on campus that also may be taking a look at Texas football because of Texas relays happening this weekend?
Well, first of all, thanks for the introduction, Rod. I want to say this. I think this is the first time you, me, and Jeff have done a show together, and it's just been us three since we started. Since Jeff joined in mid-early January, early February.
I realize that.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. It's kind of fun, new camaraderie here. Hey, Jalen Lott is probably the one that can be singled out, right, Jeff Howe? That's in the Texas relays. That's also an elite recruit. But Rod, and I wanted to talk to you about this as well as Jeff. The thing about the Texas relays, it's not just the guys the key high school guys that are in the Texas relays, because there are going to be more than just Jalen Lott, the young man out of Frisco whose dad James played at Texas back in the 80s. There's more than that are there. There are guys. It's a good time to have recruits on campus, in my opinion. And I'll tell you why. Students are in session.
Yep.
So the campus is hopping in that regard. Whenever you go take them to the business school or the liberal arts school or the communications building, campus is hopping, right? When you give them a tour. But the football facilities and around that Mike Myers track stadium is extremely happening and hopping. Right around Moncrief Newhouse, which is where the recruits spend the majority of their time. And so I think that the Texas relays is a real positive, in my opinion, for Texas from a recruiting standpoint, not just because it brings in guys like Jalen Lott, but we'll talk about some other guys that are in town. Mark Bowman, tight end, number one tight end in the country out of Mater Dei in California, is in town. Caden Prothrow, another top tight end from the South, Deep South. He'll be in tomorrow. Xavier Crowell, one of the top running backs in the country, is already on campus today and came in yesterday. So my point being, this is a great time to have recruits on campus. I really believe that, because there's a verve, if that makes sense. There's a little bit of a vibe to campus during Texas. Not just your regular campus, but the athletic campus, right? Which is a little bit more east towards I-35. You get a little bit of both, I think.
Yeah, the only thing we need more of is sunshine, because right now, you didn't get too much sunshine right now. It's kind of raining and it's overcast. If you get the sunshine, you're right, Bobby. Then you got kind of the perfect combination to recruit some of these guys. Has it always, let me ask you this, because I know, Jeff, I know you got some points you want to make. Has it always been the case where Texas tried to take advantage of Texas relays in the recruiting? Was it even the case with Mac? Was that the case? No,
it hasn't. In the last, but that follows with recruiting in general moving up about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So back in your time, they didn't really take advantage of it because Mac didn't really start early recruiting until 2000, right at 2000, 2001. Okay. Right. And then they might have, and they wouldn't necessarily have them up for the Texas relays. They'd have them up at another time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now it's a little bit different in that everything's sped up. And so they've always taken, I will say this, they've always tried to take advantage of it from the elite athletes that are trying to participate in the Texas relays, but not just have, a tight end from California come in.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that has he's not throwing the shot or something today. And so that's a little different.
Yeah. I can remember, I want to say this was like probably a Charlie Strong thing when Charlie got to campus, when Charlie got the job, it was more of, okay, why are we not maximizing this weekend? Now there are rules. If you're competing, there's rules on when you can go take a visit and when you can't. I think there's got to be some time off, but I mean, a lot of guys will come into town. You're going to have two groups of guys that come in, guys that are specifically coming like, hey, I'm going to make a recruiting trip to Texas and make a weekend out of it with the relays, or I'm going to be in town for the relays anyway. Might as well go over to spring practice and see what's going on. So it's an event that's going to get a lot of guys to campus regardless. Like I said, not just the guys competing, but yeah, Rod, I'd probably say like, I remember it's only been really within the last 10 years or so. And I think I don't remember it being a big deal where they were trying to get guys on campus till Charlie Strong got the job.
Yeah. No, Bobby's right. It's just because of everything. I mean, we didn't have that many early enrollees back in my day too. Now the majority of the class is early. But now you're the exception if you don't enroll early, which is crazy. Seems like here in Texas anyway, that being the case. All right, a couple of questions here. They want to get specifics. You guys talking about some of these high-level prospects that potentially could be on campus. Living rent-free in UT says, any Crowell news? This is about the running back, correct? Xavier Crowell?
Yes, it is. Yeah, Xavier Crowell. He look, there are some real strong signs right now that Alabama is the team to beat in this race. Now, Texas is supposed to have him here for 2 days on campus. And I thought that prior to, boy, I love this kid's highlights, by the way. We could just play this whole highlight and talk about it, Rod and Jeff. And I'd be like, you haven't seen him?
I haven't watched him.
This is sophomore tape. Okay, I just want you to remind yourself that. 210, 215 pounds. Look at that. You see that?
Change the direction on him.
Yeah, I took the right side leg up and over. You know what I mean? Big time. But my point is, I think Alabama has made him priority number one in their entire recruiting class. And so they are going all out for him. Before Tashard Choice left, I thought Texas had the inside track. I really did. I thought Texas was going to be hard to beat. Now, look at that. Downfield power, Rod. Too. But my point is, I think it's going to be a tough one, and I don't think it's decided yet by any stretch. But I think Texas has a tough – they have a tough road to hoe here, but any team that's going to sign him is going to have a tough road because he ain't going – guys like this, they don't come quietly or easily. And there's a reason for that. They're going to be tugged over a little bit. You know what I mean? He's one of those types, in my opinion, one of the best skill players in the country. By the way, Rod, and Jeff knows this, but Rod, he reclassified this is all sophomore tape. He went forward and he's now really going to be a junior, but going to be a senior in high school. So he's coming out a full year early, as a recruit. Same thing with Mark Bowman, the tight end out of Mater Dei that we've been talking about. I love this kid. This is all on grass field, by the way. You notice that, Rod?
You can move. Yeah.
Wow. Choppy grass field. Dude's got a
bird. Got great feet.
He's as big here. He's as big. You don't realize this. He's as big as Cedric Baxter. You realize that?
He doesn't move like he moves like he's a small guy.
He's as big as Cedric Baxter.
Damn.
So that's one thing you people don't appreciate sometimes when they're watching these guys. Like, oh well, he's only 5'9", 195. He looks or 5. You know what I mean? He looks. He could be a little. Well, I think he's going to carry 225 by the time it's done.
Man.
He's gonna. The one guy, I was talking to one recruiting coordinator in the Southeastern Conference, and you know who they compared him to a little bit? This will give you a size comparison. Nick Chubb.
Damn.
That's not who you would expect, right?
That's stout. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That was the guy they said he reminded him a lot of. And they recruited him. They recruited Nick Chubb back in the day too.
Sorry, Bobby. I just like the fact that, Tashard Choice leaves Texas. Crowell announces, all right, I'm no longer visiting Texas. Then after one phone conversation with Chad Scott, all right, yeah, Texas is back in it. So that tells me that that things are at least Texas at least still has a chance. Getting him to campus right now is huge. I just think this is part of the deal. Jerry and I have talked a lot about this. With the way Sark is recruiting, especially at a position like running back, where you're going to take one, maybe two a year, you're going for the best in the country every year. So that's the good and the bad about getting in these battles. Yes, you've got a chance to get some elite blue chip talent, but when you're going for a running back from the deep South, you're going to be going against Alabama and Georgia and Tennessee, and you're going to be in it for the long haul. This isn't going to be a battle that's over in the spring. I mean, this is going to be one that you're going to have to go. It is a classic through the whistle recruitment for a top-notch back like this. But I like the fact that Sark and this staff, they're willing to get in the fight and duke it out for these guys.
I love some of these defensive backs holding on for dear life late in these runs. I just picture Rod Babers being that guy.
Oh man, hey, I knew how to grab an ankle, man, and hold on.
Well, that's what I'm saying. These guys are trying to do that, and they're trying to grab him up top and just sliding all the way down. And, it's they get the shoulder pads, and it goes all the way down the waist to the ankles.
Yeah, Boris will say, "Hit, hang on, and hope for help, man," because the guys are coming. But this dude, he's got violent twitch too. I've seen some of this kind of red zone carries. I've talked about how a lot of that can solve your red zone issues, man. If you got a back with just a violent twitch, and he's got that. I mean, and burst. I mean, I don't know if is there a weakness to this young man's game at running back? It's hard to see one.
I haven't watched game film.
Yeah.
I have no clue. There's not going to be blitz pickup on this tape, right?
Yeah.
And that sort of thing. But the thing that you could tell, he has no problem with contact.
No
problem. And no problem making people miss, no problem running away from people, no problem inside or outside running. I mean, there are other great running backs in the country too. I think this young man's a little special. And
he's from Texas?
No, he's from Jackson, Alabama.
Jackson, Alabama. Okay. All right.
Yeah. That's the Alabama tie I was talking about in part.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Interesting. Good stuff there, guys. All right. We got, before we get to the question, I know we got some more questions, guys. I promise we'll get to them. Let's thank one of our sponsors for our Friday live stream, our friends over at South Point Dodge. They can help you get to the point this season and score an easy extra point this season when you get to the point with our friends over at South Point Dodge. Right now, they have over 600 vehicles in stock, including an amazing selection of Ram 1500s, 2500s, and 3500s. Whatever your truck needs, South Point Dodge is your one-stop shop. Now, speaking of those great deals you get from South Point Dodge right now is a great time to get a great deal because they have over 50 Ram 2500s, all of them marked down with huge savings. Right now, it's a great time for you to get on over to South Point Dodge and see what all the talk is about. SouthPointDodge.com. You can go up there and check out their inventory there, make it easy on yourself. But if you're in the neighborhood, go down I-35 South, down I-35 in South Austin, and you can also check out South Point Dodge's great inventory in person for yourself. South Point Dodge, no matter what your automotive needs are, maybe it's a trade-in, maybe you're looking for a new car, maybe it's a used car, whatever your automotive needs. Our friends at South Point Dodge are Austin's automotive everything. And for your truck, they are your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. At southpointdodge.com. We really appreciate them for being sponsors of our Friday live stream. All right, getting back to the questions. Got a super chat from Sailor Joe. Thank you, Sailor Joe, for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Says, how likely is it that we possibly lose whoever ends up at QB3 in the fall portal? With Diabell coming in next year, do we see KJ leave? Well, I mean, is KJ going to lose that spot? I mean, That's a good question. Who wins the backup quarterback job based on what we're talking about here? And I've said it from day one. I'll just say this because I like Trey Owens. I told you guys before the spring game, I was like, yeah, y'all gonna like Trey Owens because he's got some of that it quality now, and he's got a strong arm. And I think he showed that. He shows he's got a lot of promise. I've said for a while now, I don't think he's gonna exhaust his eligibility at Texas. I think at one point he's gonna decide to go somewhere else and pursue a starting job. I think he's capable of that at some other place. I just don't know at Texas if the way the quarterback, the way the kind of quarterbacks fall, all right, with Arch Manning starting for multiple years, and then the quarterbacks they're bringing in, Dia Bell mentioned here as well, and KJ Lacey, he might get a bit lost in the shuffle, potentially. So I say, honestly, my guess would be Trey Owens would end up leaving the group. I've been saying, I'm going to stick with it.
That's kind of where I'm leaning to. Just in the small sample that we saw in practice on Tuesday, just my first look at KJ Lacey. He's got a chance. He's got a chance. Just a different. There's just a smoothness to him. He's got some juice to him. I just looking at him, how his body profiles while going back and watching some of the tape. Yeah, I don't know that KJ Lacey is necessarily the guy that you should be counting on being the first one out the door.
Yep.
I differ from both y'all.
Oh, I like it.
Okay. I think Arch is going to start 2 years. So if I think Trey Owens is willing to sit for at least one more year.
Okay.
He's willing to sit for 2. I just think he's so big, so strong. I like what he brings to the table with the deep ball for Sark. I mean, he throws a great deep ball. He really does. And while KJ Lacey has some maneuverability that none of Texas current quarterbacks, including Arch, have. Yeah. I mean, KJ Lacey moves the pocket. He really and maneuvers it really well. I'm not saying Arch is bad at it. Just he does. I think Trey Owens has a little bit. You said that it quality.
He's got it.
You know what he also has? He has a little bit. I'm going to prove you wrong.
He does. Yeah, he's a little arrogant. He's got a little
ain't nothing wrong with it.
Hey, no, you need it. You need it. If you be at Texas, you better have it. Yeah,
exactly. I think that. So I'm not there. I don't know who's going to hit the portal. If anyone will hit the portal, I think 1 year would be really quick for KJ Lacey to leave.
Yep, me too.
I think that. So to y'all's point, I would see it being more likely that Trey Owens would, but I'm still buying Trey Owens stock. So I may be wrong. I mean, I like KJ Lacey. To Jeff's point, he was slinging it. He did not look on Monday. Like Rod, you would have been impressed by a guy. They list him at 6 foot. He's probably not 6 foot.
Okay, he's got that. That Bryce Young thing working. Bryce Young, they said he was whatever, and I saw Bryce Young in Vegas, and I was like, Bryce Young ain't whatever they said he was because he's closer to Rod B height, and I'm 5'8".
My point being for KJ Lacey is this, and Jeff and Jerry both picked up on it. I think CJ did too. It's just he didn't look like a freshman when the ball was in his hands.
Mm-hmm.
He looked like a freshman physically, right?
Yeah.
But when the ball was in his hands and he had to go, they were running past skeleton or they were doing any kind of route tree stuff, bing, bada, boom. I mean, moving like crisply, all that stuff. He looked like older than his years. I understand where Jeff and Jerry and CJ and those guys are coming from. I could be wrong here. I mean, I just don't know.
I don't want it to seem like I am not, because like I said, I'm a big Trey Owens fan. That's why I say I do think he can go somewhere and actually start, for a university. And I think at one point he may decide, you know what, I want to do that. But I agree with you, Bobby. I don't know if he's in a rush. I don't know if he's in a rush to do that. So you could possibly for one more year have all 3 of those guys. And if that's the case, Trey Owens would have the advantage in the backup quarterback competition because he knows the system. He's been in the system. So I got to tell you from what I've heard from you guys and what I've heard when I went to Pro Day from some folks behind the scenes, don't be surprised if KJ makes it a hell of a competition.
Yeah.
It's going to be, and could win it if he, ends up, performing at a really high level, but I will never count out Trey Owens because I really like his skill set and I like his mental makeup. I like his football character. Been a big fan. Like I said, when you beat Katie in the playoffs in H-Town, it means something, man.
Yeah.
It means
the last quarterback who sent Katie home that early was Vincent Paul Young Jr. So anytime you're doing something that guy did, you're doing something right. I'll say this about Trey Owens too, Rod, to your point about the confidence, kind of bleeding over into the cockiness for him. Sark and AJ Mill, we needed a guy like that. You needed to recruit somebody, whoever was going to be your quarterback take in that 2024 class. They had to have, to borrow an old school term of yours, Rod, they had to have scones the size of smart cars. Yeah. Because to be the guy coming in one class after Arch Manning, the guys like Dylan Raiola and Julian saying once Arch committed to Texas, they knew those guys for 24 were off the table. But the guy that you had to have somebody with the potential to start for you down the road, but somebody that knew what they were getting into. Trey Owens knew what he was getting into coming to Texas, and I don't think he really minds. And I think Bobby's overall point is what we all need to remember. We all have an idea. We all know the dynamics of quarterbacks in the portal. None of us knows what Trey Owens' own personal clock is. If he doesn't mind sticking it out and is willing to wait until 2027 to say, all right, this is when I'm going to get my chance, then pretty much everything we just talked about is moot. And he'll be competing with all three of those guys on top of, hey, in 27, if you recruit a Peyton Houston or a Gunnar Rivers, whoever it is, then you just add another body. But I think Trey Owens has something about him that I really, really like. You called that it factor, Rod. I just think it's that self-confidence. I used to say Case McCoy had kind of irrational self-confidence. I don't know if Trey Owens has that, but you had to have a certain belief in yourself if you were going to be the guy that followed Arch Manning.
That's a great point, though. To be in that room and not lose confidence, you needed somebody that oozed it, that had tons of it. That's a great point too, Jeff. I agree with you 100% there. All right, getting back to the questions. Thank you for that super chat. Got another one coming up here from It's 420 somewhere. It's one of my favorite handles. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's 420 somewhere. Says, how does Texas prepare for Manning having a first-year starter game? Yeah. I'm assuming that's the growing pains game we're talking about, like just looking like a first-year starter instead of looking like a Manning and a 5-star quarterback. That's a great question. How does Sark handle it? Like, what was that first game that Quinn had where Quinn just looked like he was discombobulated? He looked like his eyes. Was that Oklahoma State game? That was a bad one.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State game was a bad one. Like, that was a bad one. Not just a couple of bad plays or a bad series here and there. It was like most of the game he was bad.
He was 19 for 49, Rod. There's no, you got to put a lot of lipstick on that pig. Here's the difference though. You think back, there's two games I think about Quinn's first year as a starter: the Iowa State game at home and the Baylor game at home. It got to in the Iowa State game. I remember both instances. In the Iowa State game, Casey Kane dropped it. Quinn put it right on him. It was a bomb down the field, and Casey Kane dropped it. And in the Baylor game, Quinn had they strip sack Quinn, and Baylor scores a touchdown. After both those plays, Sark said, screw it. I want to get out of here with a win. I'm putting the game in Bijan Robinson's hands and Roschon Johnson's hands. Yeah, they're going to carry us. You don't have that right now. At least two proven commodities like that at running back in a running game you can lean on. So if Arch has one of those games, what do you do? Sark had that break. If all else fails, I can give the ball to my two NFL backs. What do you do if Arch is having one of those games? I don't even know if Sark knows the answer to that yet.
And they're playing in a different conference now too.
Yeah.
Baylor had a decent defense that year. They could still be run on. Iowa State had a decent defense. They could still be run on that year. You know what I mean? Is that going to work if you're in, Starkville?
Let alone Athens.
They're gonna have better defensive front than those teams, in my opinion. More NFL players. I hear what is being asked. I think that it's inevitable that he has a poor game. I'm not talking about a 60% with 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions.
No,
it's going to be probably a below average game, but the Quinn game at Oklahoma State was a meltdown of some proportion, whether it's because he was injured or Sark was stubborn or name your reason. that was a meltdown. I don't know that Texas can prepare for a meltdown. I think that a 60% 3 interception game may happen, but I don't know that if that will be a meltdown. We'll see. I'm a little concerned that there is some preconceived notions out there that he's just going to come out, average 70% passing, three or four TDs a game, maybe one INT if he's off, and he's just going to be killing it. I think that he'll have games like that in the first 6. This is kind of my prediction. He'll have 3 really good games, 1 or 2 okay games, and 1 bad game.
Yeah.
Now, a bad game for him may be 55 to 60% with 2 or 3 interceptions, right? I don't think he's going to go off the curve like Quinn did.
Yeah.
Quinn went off the curve. Now, also, it was windy at Oklahoma State. There's a lot of other things, but I just don't know that that's it. That's not in his DNA to go off the curve. I could be wrong.
No,
so I don't know that Texas needs to prepare themselves that way.
Where I'll agree with you, Bobby, is you got to think too about where both guys are at the time. Like you think like Arch is in year 3 in the system, and he got a couple of starts. So basically, he played 3/4 of the UTSA game. So really, it was 2 3/4 games. Arch was the starter last year. Quinn had the abbreviated senior year at Southlake. Then he had the redshirt year at Ohio State, and then he's the starter at Texas. So Quinn just didn't have a ton of game experience at that point, period, high school, college, or otherwise. Arch has at least been around, seen some things, understands the system, and he's at least started before. So at least understands the absolute. Rod, we talked about this on Football Theory maybe a couple weeks ago now, but just in terms of the turnovers and how, Arch taking care of the football, how I'm expecting Texas to be better at that. Arch to be better at that than Quinn was. We even saw the game over game where against ULM, he admitted he got greedy with the deep ball. He took too many chances, comes back against Mississippi State and is much more careful, still able to hit some vertical shots, but no turnovers. The turnovers in the Mississippi State game were fumbles by the running backs. So just that game-to-game improvement that Arch made in that little sample we got, I'm confident that he'll be able to overcome it. And I'm with Bobby. I'm from this standpoint, I'm a firm believer in Arch. Even if he's got one of those multi-interception games where it's just kind of up and down, man, if it's a one-possession game and he's got the ball in the last 2 minutes, I'm going to trust him to go do something that's going to win you the game. He may make a couple of plays to your detriment, but he's also going to make a couple that help win you the game. Unless
he's just dumbfounded by a defensive stop. Like, unless somebody's got Sark's number that day.
But it's kind of what Georgia had that for like a half against Quinn.
Yeah.
He just couldn't figure it out. That's why
it wasn't so much Quinn as it was just Texas was overwhelmed.
Exactly. Yeah. And I don't
do
we see a team being able to overwhelm Texas like that? I think it was pretty obvious, and we kept saying this leading up to the game. It's possible Georgia's just a bad matchup for Texas. Just the way the rosters were constructed, the coaching styles, philosophies. By the way, that happens in football. You can see that at the NFL level, college level, and high school level. So that could have been possible. But I'm wondering. I'm with Jeff though. I wonder without that running game that we saw, because I think Quinn's worst games probably were his first year as a starter, and then those halves against Georgia. Right, that first half against Georgia the first time, and then that second half against Georgia the second time around. Other than that, have we seen? I mean, Arizona State was not good either. Arizona State, in terms of like the worst game, but he came out in the clutch and made plays. So I don't even count that one really in his worst games. But I guess if you're looking at it, his worst games as a starter probably did come in his first year.
The Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
At Baylor was
bad. Yeah.
At that point, it was hand the ball off, please. As a person, viewing that game with any kind of Longhorn tide, but I agree with Jeff's point about timing. I mean, he was young.
He wasn't.
He should have been a true freshman.
Yep.
Who, by the way, also was injured for half the year or a third of the year after Alabama. So it wasn't like he had a full year. Is he we can say this. I will add this. The other thing to bring Trey Owens back into this, What happens if something happens to Arch right now? Are you going to put KJ Lacey out there? Really?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No.
So that's
a great point.
Keep that in mind.
Yep, I agree with that.
I know. I agree with y'all about maybe he's the one that might transfer. On paper, it looks that way. I'm interested to see what happens in reality. Something about him tells me he might be a future Texas Longhorn quarterback.
I like that. And one of the things to talk about, since we're talking about what happens in that, that first start for Arch, that may be a lackluster start, right? The growing pain start, whenever it may happen, if it does happen. It'll be interesting to see what concepts Sark is really comfortable with him or trusts him with, even when he's having a bad game or if he's having kind of a meltdown. Because there are certain concepts you got to go back to get your quarterback comfortable. It's like, all right, let's get back to the basics, man. You do this really well. Let's get back to it, get you some confidence, get you in a rhythm. We knew what that was with Quinn, right? It was always the quick, short passing game. Let's get them, boom, boom. Let's get the RPOs working. Let's get the quick game working, swing routes, and get you back into a rhythm and get you confident. Sometimes it works, sometimes it wouldn't. Be interesting to see what that is for Arch, what those kind of core comfort concepts are.
Isn't that, just to talk, isn't that what Georgia took away from Quinn?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Mm-hmm.
And so he never
got comfortable.
Yep.
Never got comfortable and confident. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And so what is Arch's go-to? When I watch him in practice, dude, there's not a throw he can't make. There really's not. Maybe, you know what it might be? 15, 20-yard comeback.
I was just going to say the 12 to 15-yard comeback, I think is an
NFL throw, by the way, outside the hash.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's designed to one-on-one and let your guy go win.
Yeah, one-on-one. There may be a safety over the top, but it's not. It's wide. You're the wide side of the field, so it's a little bit different.
Yeah. They don't throw that in college very often either.
No.
That's how a lot of college quarterbacks can't make them throw, so you don't even bother putting
not without 6 going the other way.
Yeah. So.
Well, you guys remember? I think it was the 2022 game A&M played at Alabama, where A&M had the ball on the 1-yard line on the last play, and Jimbo asked Haynes King to make that throw from the field side from the boundary to the opposite to the field side pylon. Well, that's not Haynes King's fault. That's Jimbo's fault, because Haynes King couldn't make that throw. Arch Manning could make that throw. There's no doubt in my mind Arch Manning could make that throw. But to your point, Rod, there's a handful of guys in college football that can make that throw. Haynes King was as good at stuff as Haynes King does. He's not one of them.
That's what I think Coach Keenan was great at teaching. We would go over the film with quarterbacks and be like, listen, this guy ain't going to throw the deep out route or the comeback from the opposite hash to the opposite sideline. That ain't happening. I saw Quinn do it against Bama, though. Remember Quinn did it against Bama that first time? Dude, that throw had everybody jaw on the ground. It just throw from the opposite hash to the opposite sideline. It was a deep out by Xavier Worthy. That's one of those throws where, you got to defend every blade of grass now as a DB. And Arch is one of those types of quarterbacks. It'll open up the offense. One other thing. Remember, Arch kept running the same play every time he'd come in. He'd run out that bootleg waggle, and they bring that drag route across, and they basically run like a flood concept with him, and he'd bootleg waggle. So he'd have like a kind of a shallow cross to look at. He'd have a intermediate one, and there's kind of a deep route. It's kind of a flood concept, and he would just do a bootleg waggle. They ran it, I think, 3 or 4 times when he would come in the game.
You think that's his comfort play is what you're saying?
It just came to mind like that. I remember seeing it over. Now, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh,
he
yeah.
ran like 3 times when he would come in the game. Like Jonte Cook would hit it big and some other guys.
Yeah, Andre Moore scored a touchdown on it.
Yeah. They like that. I just said they like him on the move. And I wonder if him being on the move kind of settles him down a little bit. Now I'm on the move, simplified for him. You got boom, boom. You got a layered read. You ain't got it. You know what you can do? If you ain't got it, go take off and go give me 5 yards. Get out of bounds.
Simplifies it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because that's what it did for Quinn.
Yep.
The short passing game took all the
out.
Yeah, simplify me. Make it simple for me. I think that could be. I think you may be onto something there, Rod.
All right, guys. Getting back to the questions here. Thank you for that super chat. That was a good one. Keep them coming, guys. How about this one from David Keith Williams? Always got good stuff. David Keith says, Jeff Howe, what is your view of the limited depth currently on the interior offensive line and significant depth currently on the exterior O-line? I can recall during the 2010s that dynamic was often reversed.
I don't know that I'd call the interior line depth limited, but I don't know that I'd necessarily call the tackle depth significantly more or better. Look, here's where I am on the offensive line. I think there's one guy that has a job nailed down right now. That's Trevor Gooseby, a left tackle. I think everything else is pretty much up for grabs. Now, we can look at it too deep, and this is where I try to be with the offensive line. You can look at it too deep and figure, okay, are you legitimately too deep? Well, very few offensive lines in college are legitimately too deep. I think what Kyle Flood's looking for is, all right, let's say your starting tackles are Trevor Gooseby and Brandon Baker. If Nick Brooks is ready to play right now, so be it. But Andre Kojo your third tackle. You look at your interior mix. If it's Cole Hudson at center, Neto Mazzullo at left guard, DJ Campbell at right guard. All right, is Nate Kibble effectively your third guard? And what happens? You have a contingency plan if Cole Hudson's your starting center. What do you do if he has to come out of a game or gets hurt? Do you just plug in Connor Robertson and then are you shifting things around? What are you doing? So, or is Cole Hudson really your number three or your third guard? And then you're putting Connor Robertson in at center, moving Cole Hudson wherever you got injury. So really, I think it boils down to, do you have 7 or 8 guys that you really, really trust to be on the field? And you look at last year, you look at last year's line, you had the 5 starters, right? But you had Cole Hudson played a lot. Trevor Gooseby was your number 3 tackle, which Hudson was your first interior guy. Then you had Gooseby was your tackle, and you didn't really need to be that deep. So when I think about depth, Bobby, you tell me if I'm simplifying it too much. When I think about depth, I don't look at, are you legitimately too deep? I just think, do you have those 7 or 8 guys that in a pinch, I don't care which combination of these 7 or 8 are on there. If it's some combination of those guys, you feel pretty good about being able to get the job done.
I just want to say that I disagree with the premise from David Keith Williams here. Texas has more depth on the interior than they do the exterior. There's no 2 ways about that, in my opinion. I'm not trying to be, whatever about it, but I look at it. Look, Trevor Gooseby has played 1 game. Or played two or 3 games. Has he performed well in that? Hell yes. But experience, would you call him experienced?
No.
Okay. Brandon Baker hasn't started a game. Andre Kojo hasn't started a game. Neither have played when the game mattered. Nick Brooks is a true freshman. Compared to DJ Campbell's got 30 starts. Cole Hudson's got 13 or 14 or 15, whatever it is, plus all last year. NATO's a redshirt junior, a redshirt sophomore. I just see it different. Connor Robertson's played the entire OU game 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So I see it fundamentally different. I think there's more quality guys on the interior, more proof in the pudding on the interior. The exterior, both at both left tackle and right tackle, frankly, is more up in the air. Everybody's penciling in Trevor Gooseby to be someone great, and I have a lot of faith that he will be, but the proof is in the pudding always.
To break it down further, Bobby, I mean, with Malik Ogbo being your backup left guard, I mean, granted it was as a jumbo tight end, but he played a ton in 2023.
Yeah.
So he's at least got experience.
Yeah, he'll be out though. He'll be right. Ogbo right now is and this is just from what I'm being told. I think he's gonna end up being either your big jumbo tight end or Nate Kibble is past him. At this point.
Okay.
I don't think there's any question. Yeah.
Based on what I'm being told. So, look, I don't know all the answers for sure. I will say this, just talking about the offensive line in general. I'm being told behind the scenes that the leaders of the offensive line right now are Cole Hudson and DJ Campbell.
Okay.
Not Trevor Gooseby. Not that Trevor Gooseby's not a potential leader. He's just younger.
He's just, yeah.
So when Jeff's right in that the only one that's locked down, probably a starter, is Trevor Gooseby, I find it hard to believe that Cole Hudson and DJ Campbell aren't going to be starters somewhere.
Right.
Whether that's right guard, left guard, center, what have you. So the leaders of the offensive line, from what I'm being told again right now, DJ Campbell, Cole Hudson.
Is Malik Agbo 280?
Yes.
Good Lord.
You wouldn't believe it.
Why is he so light?
I need to go on that. Look, I need to go on that plan, whatever he had.
Yeah, no,
he came at 360.
Why is he so light?
He looks like a different human.
Why though? Why is he want to be that much under 300 pounds?
I think he was really overweight when he got in. And it's not from a lack of trying. I'm told that he really works hard. But he's not retaining weight.
Wow.
He's getting stronger.
I
That's
think
not his strength problem.
I just can't believe that. So I imagine if he's not that extra big 11, Big 12 tight end, the sixth offensive lineman tight end, I don't know what role he has with the team at 280 on the O-line. That's
maybe a backup tackle, maybe a backup guard to Jeff's point.
But I think, man, I hope he buys into that jumbo tight end role, because he was good. He was good there 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And, as I'm looking at that now, again, what happens in the spring portal window can completely change what I'm about to say in terms of who's available and what the staff wants to do. But if you look at your bodies at tight end right now, Spencer Shannon is your true inline guy right now, right?
Yep, 6'7".
If something happens to him, Malik Agbo is probably your next best option to be a guy that can be an inline blocker at tight end. I think there's to me, if I'm talking to Malik Agbo, if I'm one of his advisors, I would drive home the point like, look, dude, you have value to this team at tight end. I don't know if you have very much value on the offensive line, because we ain't even talking about Jaden Chapman or Connor Stroh, or some of those other guys that have been there for a minute. So yeah, for me, I would like to see him take to that jumbo tight end role.
So I didn't run it at all last year. You guys know I kept bringing it up, the 6-0 line package. We didn't see one rep of it last season. So maybe this year, if they need some depth. Remember, he said he broke it out a couple of years ago in 2023 because of lack of depth at tight end. They had a lot of depth at tight end, but that's what he claimed. So maybe if they don't have that depth, you'll see the 6-0 line package again. One other thing about the O-line, though, I can't wait to see, because I agree with Bobby that I think that the strength and the experience is in the interior of the offensive line. Will that change their tendencies in the run game? I had a coach tell me the reason they run a lot of outside zone, and I thought, man, Sark likes to run outside zone. He likes the Shanahan, offensive philosophy. They run a lot of outside zone. He did in the NFL, but he said no, it's because their strengths are at tackle. They got 3 NFL tackles now they're going to have after this draft. He said that's why they're running to their strength. So if the strength is going to be in the interior, I want to see if maybe the tendencies in the run game switch a little bit and they try to run behind what they think the strengths are. Unless the strength is still going to be at tackle potentially with Brandon Baker and with Gooseby. But so I can't wait to watch how that's going to materialize too. I had a coach who that was his theory about why they were so heavy of an outside zone team.
Physically, Neto could be a difference maker in the run game. But I think everybody listening to this should take to heart what Bobby just said about DJ Campbell and Cole Hudson from a leadership standpoint, being the leaders of that line. That's one of the things I wanted to hear this spring, because it's time for those guys to sit at the head of the table. They're not, the youngsters kind of sitting behind, you've over the last 2 years between Christian Jones, Jake Majors, and Hayden Connor, you've lost a lot of experience. You've lost a lot of snaps. You've lost a lot of leadership. It's time for those two guys specifically to sit at the head of the table and be the leaders of that room. So the fact that they're already grabbing the bull by the horns, so to say, and leading that room, that honestly, for me, that's one of the more positive developments I've heard this week.
Yeah, look, behind the scenes, and what does that look like, right? For people that are watching this, what is leading the offensive line look like? Well, Rod, it's exactly what it looked like whenever someone was leading the DB room.
Mm-hmm.
You're the head of the group chat.
Yep.
You're telling people to follow. Hey, we're doing this today.
Yep.
Don't be late to this. You got to work on this. That's what leading the offensive line means. So it's just, we'll see where it goes, but that's what we've heard. I don't, and I want to say this to David Keith Williams, because he's one of the better, definitely one of the better questioners out there, in my opinion. He always has these unique little nuanced questions, right? I say this, I think there might be more potential at tackle, because I do think
upside.
I think Gooseby might be a first-round possibility.
Okay.
I think I've seen one practice of Nick Brooks. I hesitate to say that about an offensive lineman that early. But physically, he's bigger than Cam Williams. Yeah. And he looks similarly athletic and maybe a tad quicker. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, is it going to, Brandon Baker, just guys like that tend to play, that are that athletic and efficient, tend to play a long time in the NFL. What I'm saying is there may be more talent on the outside, but I will say this too. Anybody thinking Nate Kibble is just going to lay down for somebody this year at guard? I think people are going to. He's just Rod Babers. I'm trying to think of somebody that, how Casey Hampton was just naturally wide.
Yes, Kurt.
He didn't look human at times. Yeah. Nate Kibble is that, but he's a little bit taller. Mm-hmm. He's just naturally wide his entire. And I think anybody selling Nate Kibble short early on.
Yeah, don't.
We'll see where it ends up. I do think NATO, to Jeff's point, though, he's I think not the incumbent, but he's the leader at left guard. I think Nate Kibble is going to be your third guard. If I had to put money on it, but if I had to suggest something, that's where I would end up.
I'll answer Texas Chick 01's question. Who will be that quote unquote nasty dude if someone late hits Arch? Look, if there's a fracas to be had on the field, DJ Campbell's going to be right in the middle of it. I have no question. Like, there was anybody surprised, like when Quinn got hit late in the Michigan game, DJ Campbell's right there, like ready to throw hands. I'm like, that's I don't worry about your O-line being ready to scrap as long as DJ Campbell's there. He'll set the tone. So I don't worry about that at all.
You need a few likes to fight guys on the O-line. A couple likes to fight.
Likes to fight. That needs to be like an evaluation standpoint.
Oh yeah,
box. Likes to fight
guy. Yep. Mm-hmm. I always say
Rod, you play.
Diego Pavi's a likes to fight quarterback. You never see those guys. He's like, what? A quarterback likes to fight like that dude.
Hey, it's and in football practice, it's likes to tear off helmet.
Yeah.
Those linemen always take each other's helmets off in practice.
That is true. Good
Rod, you played with one of those guys in Detroit. Dominic Raiola was a
yes.
Fight guy.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely likes to fight guy. That's a good one. You're right. That's historically people know about Dominic Raiola as a likes to fight guy. Faced him twice. Faced him in Big 12 too, and Nebraska. Yeah. Oh man.
Back when Bull Reese was making Rod feather the option at nickel.
It was true, guys. He put me out there against Nebraska. Like, I couldn't believe it either. I'm like, why am I out here? And they ran right at me too. He's like, you gotta take that pulling lineman. I'm like, take out a pulling lineman. Think about what you said there.
Correll Buckhalter went 230. Back at a time when running backs. That was the running back at that time, was it not?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they had fullback too. They had a fullback and everything back then. Oh man.
One of the 19 Macavickas that played in Nebraska was a fullback on that team.
Oh man, that brings back some bad memories. All right, thank God for Mike Leach bringing the air raid to the Big 12. All right, let's thank our friends over at Flat Creek Estate Winery before we move on. Did you know the most awarded wine in Texas is actually the vineyard closest to Austin? That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Flat Creek Estate Winery is just minutes from downtown Austin, and they've won award after award this year for their vintage wine, Super Texan. Super Texan is now available at your local spec, so you can give it a try. Also, they have a fantastic display at our local Central Market here in Austin. I actually saw that, and we were doing some grocery shopping. So we got ourselves a little Flat Creek State wine here at the house. I love the rosé. The Pinot Grigio is really good, but yes, the Super Texan, it is out of this world. Not only do they produce some of the best premium wines you'll ever taste, but also Flat Creek is a gorgeous venue with barbecues and wine tastings and wine tours every single weekend. Perfect for a day date with your significant other or a weekend getaway with your significant other. As a matter of fact, I got a chance to take a tour of the facilities. Bobby and I both got a chance to take a tour of the facilities. They are amazing, perfect for any type of event, any special occasion. As a matter of fact, we had a member of the Owen Texas football family who got engaged out there at Flat Creek Estate Winery. So no matter how special the event or occasion, they can accommodate you at Flat Creek Estate Winery. Thank you very much for sponsoring our Friday live stream and being part of the Owen Texas football family. That's flatcreekestate.com. All right, let's get back to some questions. I know we're getting close to the end, so I'm going to try to hit these up pretty quickly. Oh, how about this one? This is nice from the Green Lantern for you, Jeff. Said, I had a chance to meet and talk to Jeff Howe at the women's basketball game against UF. He said he obviously was in a hurry, but still took time to talk with me. Thank you, Jeff, for your kindness. LOL, I might have called him Art. Also, he says, Jeff, how many old timers like me call you Art Howe from the old Houston Astros days? Go Stros. Oh, you muted, Jeff.
He's still muted.
Oh, I didn't hear it.
Yeah, I need the OSHA sign, Bobby. It's been 0 days now since we had a mishap with the mute button. No, Art Howe was the Astros manager when I was a kid watching Astros, so I'll take that. No, hey, look, even if I look like I'm busy, don't be shy about coming up to say hi. I'll take time for our OTF listeners.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
We try to hire good people. We really do. And Jeff, you fit in like a glove in that regard. The only one that gets a little spicy at times is Jerry Hamilton. Though.
Jerry likes to take shots, man. He likes to
got his own way. But he's good with. No, I'm just joking a little bit at Jerry about that. But no, seriously, Jeff, you always comport yourself extraordinarily well with people, and I appreciate that as someone that works with you too, because it makes all of us look better, frankly, when we all treat people the right way when we're out and about. I would just say this, Jeff, I'm glad that you were a kid when Art Howe was a manager. I was a kid when he was the third baseman.
Oh man.
So I'm just going there with it, right? So,
oh man, yeah, I know. That's the only thing about these reunions and everything. Even going up to Pro Day, just made me feel real old. It felt good to see everybody, but man, I felt old. I was the OG. When the young guys start telling you, sir, they're like, yes, sir. And I'm like, get out of here. Get out of here. I'm not a sir, man. I'm Rod B.
Rod, I've got something for you that would make everybody feel old. And I wish I should have sent this to Matt. So Brett Robin is one of our sponsors, meeting. Here, there in Austin, played at Texas, running back, etc. And Rod, I saw you during Pro Day go over and say hi to Mad Dog.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The former strength and conditioning coach. Well, on Brett's Facebook page, either today or yesterday, he had a picture of him and Mad Dog. Mad Dog was going in to see Brett Robin. That's the total 20 years forward. Used to be Brett Robin would go in to see Mad Dog to get worked on. Now Mad Dog's going in to see Brett Robin to get worked on.
Oh, that is fantastic. That's
thought of you when I saw that picture. I was like, Rod would. It's like total turnabout, you know.
I gotta look. Where was that on social media? I gotta find.
Yeah,
that.
it's on Brett's Facebook.
I gotta send that to Dog, man. I'm going to send that to Dog. He would love that. And I need to go see Brett Robin too. Speaking of Father Time, he's whipping all of us right now. All right, let's get to a couple more questions before we get to the end of our live stream today. How about this one from? This is from Tyrese. He says, Rod, whatever happened to Connor Stroh? Haven't heard his name lately. Is he still on the roster? I believe he is still on the roster. He's on the O-line. He's still there. So I don't think anything's happened to him at all, Tyrese. I think he's just competing, trying to find his role on the team. O-line is loaded with a lot of talent, man. They've been the thing. You haven't had much attrition on the O-line, and you had a lot of continuity and experience for 2 straight years, basically. And then hell, Jake Majors has the all-time. I believe he has the all-time record for starts at Texas at center. Like, what a blessing that was. So I just think without they haven't had any attrition, not any, but haven't had a lot of attrition via the transfer portal there. So I just think for some guys, it's really hard to find your role after you had continuity for 2 years and now you got 4 spots open. But it's heavy competition, as Jeff just broke down, because you've been stockpiling talent. You got one of the most talented offensive line rooms in the country right now. So it's tough.
I do like the fact, I'll just add real quick, Rod, like a guy like Jaden Chapman, right? I know Kyle Flood's worked him through various points that I've seen going out to practices. He's worked Chapman at both tackle spots and both guard spots. So, well, that's one thing Kyle Flood's going to do. He'll cross-train guys just to figure out, hey, maybe you might not be a good, there might not be a place for you at right guard, but guess what? We'll move you over to right tackle. If you show you got some feet there, okay, you may be able to help us there. So Kyle Flood's not just going to leave guys to be. He'll cross-train them and figure out a place to put them where they can be serviceable.
That reminds me of DB too, because Coach Akina's good at that too. Yeah, he will give you a chance. Like, you're third at corner, like, man, I'm not going to see the field. You say, Coach, I think, at safety, I think there's an opportunity. He'll try you out over there. I mean, that's one thing I like about cross-training guys to, manufacture some depth. Thank you, Tyrese. We appreciate that. How about this one from Connor? We kind of got into this, but, I think it's worth diving into with Connor's question. What have we heard from the tight end room so far? We talked about it, but what have we heard early on this spring? I mean, we assume Jordan Washington's going to be the guy at tight end, but do we think Spencer Shannon is going to be that second tight end? We feel like Jordan Washington is definitely going to be the guy, number one guy. When they run 12 personnel, which they do, by the way, 35% of the time, all right, who's the second tight end?
I'm going to say this. Based on what I saw, I wouldn't be so quick to say Jordan Washington's number one for sure.
Okay.
I think Spencer Shannon's going to be your inline guy, and I think Jordan Washington's going to have to figure out how he fits a little bit. I mean, if you were to go to it today. Now, that doesn't mean 6 months from now it might be different. I do think that they're going to go to the portal for a tight end. I think they have to. I think physically Jordan Washington may be a year away. He's still growing is the bottom line. And so let's see where that ends up. It's one of the positions I'm absolutely looking for right now and seeing what he looks like 15 days from now, April 26th, Fan Appreciation Day. Hopefully we see him more between now and then, Jeff, you and I and everybody else. But I'm the tight end room's a little bit. I don't know that Jordan Washington's as far along maybe as we had thought, based off what I saw on Tuesday.
I'm more. I guess you could say concerned, but the Spencer Shannon dynamic, and Bobby, this is why I agree with you 100% on the portal. Even if Malik Ogbo's there in a supporting role as the jumbo tight end, if something happens to Spencer Shannon, you don't have an option right now for an inline tight end. So out of the portal at the very least, and Rod, you were talking about the run game earlier. This could basically hinge on what kind of run game you have, because Gunnar Helm was such a good C-gap and out blocker that's another reason why they ran a lot of outside zone. But if something happens to Spencer Shannon, you need somebody that can either, come in and compete with him and push him, or at the very, very least, you got to have somebody who can be an insurance policy. So, but ideally, if you can find a 5-tool tight end in the portal, great, fantastic. But at the very least, I need a guy who can compete to be my inline guy.
Yeah, it's something interesting to watch because they don't have a reception returning yet, tight end at all. And as Bobby kind of mentioned, I don't know if they know what they have just yet. This spring will determine a lot.
Rod, can we talk about the tight end that's on campus?
Yes,
that would be a good segue, I think.
Yeah.
Mark Bowman, young man out of Santa Ana Mater Dei, is on campus. Jerry reporting that for On Texas Football. Jerry's over there hanging around Moncrief Newhouse right now. Matt, can you bring up that film of Mark Bowman, if you don't mind, as we talk about him? Because I don't know that Rod has seen him yet at this point. But one of another guy that's reclassified, guys, from 2027 to 2026. His dad used to live in the state of Texas. We believe this recruitment likely to come down to Texas and Georgia. Both teams have offered. Both teams like him a lot, etc. It'll be interesting to see what Texas does here and if they're able to get him on board because he certainly is one of those guys that Texas is recruiting. He's on campus right now. Jerry, just getting a report now from Jerry as well. Melissa offensive lineman Max Wright, who is committed to Texas, is also on campus. Xavier Crowell, the running back out of Jackson, Alabama, is on campus, as well as a number of other players and prospects that Texas is recruiting at this point. So it'll be interesting to see how this all winds up. But what do you think of here of this Mark Bowman, Rod? Your first look at him.
Dangerous with the ball in his hands. Got really nice body control when adjusting to the football. Man, looks, I don't know how tall he is, but he looks big. Looks like he's long.
He is.
Tall.
Yeah.
What's his height? Okay. Yeah. He looks a little bit longer the way he plays. Like him, I like how he fights at the catch point. I mean, he can make contested catches for you, attacks the football, and he just looks really athletic. See them lined up outside, see them in the slot. Here they got him lined up in line. Looks like he's a capable blocker too, at least willing. Yeah. Boy, man, got the right attitude about blocking a guy. I love his game. I mean, those big athletes that you and Jerry have talked about Texas recruiting now, he does kind of fit that mold of we just need bigger athletes overall. Maybe that's adapting to the SEC, or maybe it's a new style of offense I think Sark wants to start playing, but he does fit that mold.
There are 4 players in this. There are 4 players on this modern day team that Texas is recruiting, by the way. That left tackle is also being recruited. He's committed to Oregon. So there's some players on this modern day team, guys. Just keep that in mind too. Yeah,
I like him though. That's he's a good looking tight end, man. I think Texas is looking to get more athletic at tight end. Period. I mean, that's just pretty obvious. The class they just brought in here, and then recruiting guys like here, Mark Bowman. Yeah, and he's reclassifying as well. So
young.
Yes, I'll say he's a baby still. Goodness, it's crazy.
I mean, there's another reclass that's a safety out of Oaks Christian out in California. Devon Benjamin, Texas is going hard after him too. He's originally a 2027. He moved up a year to 2026.
Is everybody reclassifying just to get NIL early? Is that the whole point, basically?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But before they put more,
how much are you going to make it, Jack? Yeah, how much are you going to make it, Jack, as a senior at Jackson, Alabama, versus a freshman at the University of Texas?
Yeah, exactly. And it's pretty soon, there'll be more rules and parameters on it. Right now, it's still kind of the wild, wild west. You want to make some money. It's a gold rush going on. It's a tsunami of money coming in for NIL. So I can see why everybody's reclassified. If you're a good player, if you're a 5-star type player, reclassify and go get the bag.
Yeah. Yep. Mark Bowman was a top. Mark Bowman and Xavier Crowell and Devon Benjamin were all top 25 players in the country.
That's what
for their classification.
Yeah.
So they moved a year up.
What I like.
Texas got one in Zealous Hicks last year too, by the way. He moved a year. Sorry, Jeff. I didn't.
No, you're good, Bobby. We've got Rod, tight end. If we go back to our Longhorn Blitz days, the early days, and when Durham Smythe was committed to Texas, we were. I was just salivated for Texas. I'm like, can Texas just figure out tight end? Because under Mac, it was just a series of injuries and bad evaluations, and you never figured it out. And Charlie Strong staff and especially Tom Herman, man, they liked tight ends, stockpiled them, but never really knew what to do with them. And now we've seen, you brought in Jatavian Sanders, who was a highly recruited guy, but he needed a year to learn it. Gunnar Helm needed some time to develop physically. The difference here is you saw the film. Mark Bowman comes in ready from day one to line up and play tight end for you. There's no waiting around. He's the top tight end in the country, even after reclassifying. I mean, he's a special tight end prospect. And as pivotal as that position is in this offense, I don't know what Sark's board looks like, how they rank him, but I can't imagine there's very many guys, period, in front of him in terms of importance.
Yeah. It's good. No, it's a good point about how tight end was an endangered species on the 4 acres for so long. Does not seem to be the case with Sark's offense. All right, let's thank another one of our sponsors. Let's thank our friends over at Bluebird Organizing. BluebirdOrganizing.net. Folks, if your life is feeling a little bit overwhelmed, or maybe your wife feeling overwhelmed these days, if she constantly mentions how she wishes she could find items a little easier around the house, or she wants to park her car in the garage, but there's not enough space because there's too much junk out there, it's not organized, or maybe she complains about tripping all over the kids' stuff and the kids' toys, or you as a husband also feeling at a complete loss as to how you can help with spring cleaning well on its way and Mother's Day just around the corner as well. Give your wife the gift of a lifetime with a customized organizing session with Bluebird Organizing. Perry, owner of Bluebird Organizing, will come into your space without judgment and give your wife the organized kitchen, closet, playroom, and or garage of her dreams. Plus, Perry will take all of the donations for you at the end, and also leaving you and your family ready to enjoy the brand new space. It's time to give your wife a gift she'll love for years to come. All right, you can call or text Perry today at 737-346-7779. That's 737-346-7779. Or reach out via email at bluebirdorganizing.net. You can look them up at bluebirdorganizing.net. And remember, it is a free in-person consultation. You can book a free in-person consultation, which means you got nothing to lose but so much to gain with our friends over at bluebirdorganizing.net. So you can get your life organizing or help get wifey's life organized as well with Bluebird Organizing. So thank you very much to Bluebird Organizing for sponsoring our Friday live stream and being a part of the Orange Texas football family. All right, let's get back to.
Rod, can I share a quick tight end story just to because this reminds me of like the depths it sunk to. So the 2010 season, that 5-7 season, y'all remember Texas played a late season game against Florida Atlantic, had just a random non-conference game.
I think I do.
My wife and I went on a cruise that week, and I missed that game. And I remember one of the first phone calls that I have when I get off the cruise ship in Galveston, turn my phone on, is Bobby. And Bobby's running down the Florida Atlantic game, telling me, hey, tight end Dominic Jones looked like he may be an answer. And Bobby gets me all excited about Dominic Jones. Remember, Texas doesn't have a bowl game, so I'm like, hey, Dominic Jones at tight end. This is what I'm watching for in the spring. By the time you got to spring ball, he was out of the program, off the roster. So I'm like, I finally can get excited about a tight end prospect, and now he's not even on the roster. So that's like oh, hey, we found one. No, we didn't. No, Blaine Irby's leg fell off or whatever happens. It couldn't find a tight end. Now I'm glad that Texas is producing NFL tight ends. It makes me feel much better than I felt about 15 years ago at that position.
No, Gunnar Helm set records at tight end. I don't think we even talked about enough that the guy set the record for receiving yards and receptions in a single season for the tight end position at Texas, and kind of went under the radar because the season was such a success and so many other topics. But Gunnar Helm had the best season arguably in the history of Texas football for a tight end.
But that's where when we talk about target distribution and catches for the receivers last year and for the backs, like that's one thing that I know I forget it sometimes. I don't think any of us had Gunnar Helm being a 60 catch guy going into last year. I didn't.
No,
I didn't think he catch 60 balls.
No way. I think he might have been easily the biggest surprise. Him and Trey Wise are probably the biggest surprises of the season on offense. Like, just nobody saw it coming. Nobody saw a 1,000-yard season for Trey Weiser. Nobody saw a record-breaking season at the tight end position for Gunnar. Maybe his father and mom, who really, they love him and care about him. They may be the ones that saw it, but nobody else did. All right,
and maybe Gunnar did too. Now,
maybe Gunnar. Yeah, Gunnar was Gunnar. He might have surprised himself. You never know that, but yeah, how about this one from Kyle? He said, who's the next Bijan Robinson y'all think Texas can land? Who's the next generational running back is what Kyle wants to know, because that's what Bijan was, a generational running back. And you've had a lot. We were talking about that picture from 2022. Remember the one with them on the bench? I think it's Jaden Blue's in it too. You got Bijan Robinson, Keelan Robinson, Rojo in that picture, Jonathan Brooks in that picture. That's going to be a famous photo all the time. Shout out to Rocky Knows Best. But those are all NFL backs, and none of them are as special as Bijan. That's how special and generational Bijan Robinson was. So,
Jonathan Brooks was the first pick and first running back taken in his draft. Yet Bijan Robinson still.
Those guys don't come out alone. Who's the next one then? Is he on the roster then? That's what they want to know. Bobby. He's not on the roster. Okay.
Not in my opinion. As good as Trey Weiser is, as good as Cedric Baxter could be, Christian, I would say no. The young man we talked about earlier might end up in that category. He's that good. I mean,
wow.
I mean, is Nick Chubb generational? Probably not. Is he an 8-year starter in the NFL? Yes. Hey, so
I'll take that.
Yeah, exactly. So generational, Bijan's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Bijan, how many generational running backs are there really in the NFL right now? I mean, Saquon Barkley is one.
Say Christian McCaffrey was one at one point. You can put him in that conversation.
I mean, there's only like
maybe four of them.
Yeah. So I think that's harder to come by now than what it used to be.
It's true.
Like running back used to be a more important position than it is now.
I mean, Derrick Henry's closing in on 10,000 yards. I don't know.
Derrick Henry's in that conversation.
I don't know if we're going to have another 10,000 yard rusher after Derrick Henry gets there.
Derrick Henry's generational.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Good luck. I mean, now you want to see somebody drop it there and we were talking about how defensive backs start at the shoulders and then kind of down as they're attack. That's like Derrick Henry does that on multiple players that are 6'2", 220.
I bet hitting his thighs even hurt. I'm going for knee and below. I'm going to just the shin. I'm trying to hit the shin and knock him out because
that is him next to a Heisman Trophy winner. That's Derrick Henry next to Mark Ingram.
He looks like a Marvel character. Look at that dude.
Yeah.
That's just tricky. I tell people all the time, I say, guys, superhumans do exist. I've played with them and against them. I am not one. They do exist though.
Man, I remember watching Bobby. I think you were down in San Antonio, but I remember Derrick Henry being in the All-American Bowl in 2014, and I had that idea. There's been enough guys that I should change my thinking on this. I'm like, man, put him at defensive end, make him an edge rusher. He'd be an all-pro edge rusher. Then I watched him play running back and take handoffs. I'm like, nope, just load him up. Give him the rock 20, 30 times a game because nobody want to tackle him in the fourth quarter.
Hell, especially when it's cold outside. That's why in like the playoffs and then late in the NFL season, he's even more deadlier and lethal than he is early in the season because it's cold. Guys are already hurt and banged up. Man, that dude comes downhill on you. That's nightmare fuel right there. All right, let me tell you about our friends, our final sponsor of the show, our friends over at Vaughn Lane. And now, if you tried flying and probably tried driving to the major cities in the great state of Texas, Houston, Dallas, Austin, and San Antonio, and let's face it, flying is a hassle. It's just stressful. You're talking about security lines and packed gates, delayed flights, the ridiculous prices of everything in an airport, all for an hour trip that is not worth it at all. The stress isn't worth it. And if you try driving, that isn't much better either. You try that round trip, you got to deal with traffic and then the hours of lost productivity. You got emails piling up, calls going unanswered, and work left undone. Also, you can make that round trip to Houston and back to Dallas or whatever it may be. Vaughn Lane changes everything, folks. It's luxury regional bus travel, what some call a private jet on wheels. I can attest to this. I've actually taken the Vaughn Lane multiple times, taking it to Houston, taking it to Dallas and the DFW area as well. You can sink into a plush leather seat with a leg rest. You stay connected with complimentary Wi-Fi, enjoy complimentary snacks and drinks on every trip, plus delicious meals on select departures as well. And if you need to freshen up, they even have hot towel service as well as eye masks, pillows, and blankets to keep you cozy. The Vaughn Lane team takes care of every detail so you can sit back, unwind, and relax and enjoy the most comfortable travel experience on the road today. Business travelers, you can recapture your lost productivity. And if you're traveling for leisure purposes or for vacation, you just sit back, relax, and get pampered by the Vaughn Lane team. And if you're planning a special trip, maybe a guy's trip or a girl's trip, bachelorette party, a football game, concert, special event, you can charter your own Vaughn Lane coach for the ultimate group experience. Vaughn Lane is first-class travel without the hassle. See for yourself. Visit Vaughn Lane. That's VONLANE.com. That's VaughnLane.com. Remember to use the promo code OTF25, OTF25 for $20 off your first trip with Vaughn Lane. That's VaughnLane.com. Like I said, remember to use the promo code OTF25. Thank you very much to Vaughn Lane for being sponsors of our Friday live stream and being a part of the On Texas football family. All right, we got a couple of more questions and then we'll end the live stream for today. How about this one from Joe Z? Says, so portal, wide receiver, tight end, D tackle are a must maybe an experienced right tackle?
I don't think they have plans right now. I think Nick Brooks helped them out with that at left because they got a left tackle. Now they can let Kojo and Brandon Baker fight it out. I think that's the plan. Wide receiver, tight end, and defensive tackle. I would say wide receiver and tight end are musts. I would say that defensive tackle, yes, if it's the right guy.
Okay.
That's where I'm at.
I don't like the portal market for offensive linemen. It's never great. I just don't. I'd rather go with the homegrown. I would, if it came down to it, Bobby, I would rather take Andre Kojo over most of what you're going to find in the portal. I mean, maybe you get the Calvin Andersons you get out of the portal seem to be very few and far between.
That's a good one.
Well, I mean, there are guys. I mean, Ohio State's starting left tackle next year is going to be a transfer from Rice, by the way.
Yeah.
Wow.
You can get them. You can get them. But to Jeff's point, some of these guys are unicorns because Texas recruits pretty darn well.
Yeah.
Right. Where you can get them, and to Josie's point, I think, is the experienced part. Like Texas has good young talent, right? But they may not have the experienced part. I think that's kind of where they're at wide receiver right now. Because outside of Ryan Wingo and DeAndre Moore, they don't have anybody that's caught a ball at wide receiver or tight end.
It's true.
And so the experience portion of that's not so much the actual play of them. Defensive tackle is an interesting one. I had thought that maybe we might be looking at a corner too at some point.
Jeff brought that up too. Jeff, I think you've been on that. Have you brought that up multiple times that you think they should look at possibly a corner?
Yeah, it depends. Look, if you don't, I think they would go there if they got through spring ball and probably. And I'm not saying these are the only two guys there, but if they got through spring ball and felt like Kobe Black and or Cade Phillips are a year away, then maybe you get a stopgap guy. But I mean, there's enough talent there that it's just, to me, I know it sounds like I'm talking out both sides of my mouth, given what I just said about offensive linemen, but I just think you're more likely to find a starting caliber guy who's a serviceable player at corner. I just mixing with offensive line chemistry and knowing where they're starting from anyway. I don't want to disrupt that. But corner, you can find you a corner in the portal.
I will say this: Texas would have loved to seen Gavin Holmes have another year.
Yeah,
I know. That would have been clutch. I totally agree with you, Bobby. That would have been clutch, man. Yep.
So who knows? I mean, look, they guys are really high on Cade Phillips so far. Been 2 practices. Players did a walkthrough today, by the way, this morning, and then they'll have practice tomorrow for the 3rd practice of the year. Cade Phillips sounds like he might be a guy. I don't know if he's going to be a starter because Jalen Gilbo and Manny Muhammad got a lot of experience, but we'll see. We'll see.
Interesting. I like that. All right. Thank you guys. Sorry we couldn't get to all of the questions. I apologize. We'll try to do better next time. That's what we always do around here. Thank you very much to all of our sponsors. Thank you to Von Lane, vonlane.com. Remember to use that promo code OTF25, flatcreekestate.com, flatcreekestate.com. We appreciate them and all of their support as well. Frank says the wife just needs to head out to Flat Creek Winery and she will forget about organizing. No, hook wifey up. Here's the Bluebird Organizing special at bluebirdorganizing.net. Thank you very much. And then also take her out to Flat Creek. Give her the best of both worlds. Wifey deserves it.
Hey, take her on a specific motor coach at Von Lane. Yeah, all of it. All together. Take a wine trip. Yeah, there you go.
And then go take a car shopping at southpointdodge.com. There you go.
Yeah, take a wine trip on Von Lane, and then while the organizing is being done, and then detour to South Point. So you can just kill birds with one stone.
You can hit them all, man. You can hit them all. All right. Thank you to all of our sponsors, and thank you guys for all the super chats and the great conversation. Yes, It is 2:38, and OU still sucks. Boom! Got the time right and everything. Can't beat that. All right, thank you guys for all your participation. We can't do it without you. Thanks to Matthew as well. Matthew's a real MVP behind the scenes, so we appreciate him. Thanks to Bobby. Bobby, thanks for all the wisdom and the nuggets. Thank you, Jeff. All your great work, always appreciated too. And for Bobby,
hey Rod, we did have a last minute super chat come in.
Oh, did we? I missed it. Oh, I apologize. Go ahead.
Just came in.
Okay. Oh, who's the fastest receiver in the portal? Should we pursue that player? I think we need that one receiver that can take the top off the defense. Thank you, DJ. I'm sorry. I almost missed your super chat there. I apologize about that. I think everybody has pretty much been on board looking at a receiver in the transfer portal, considering the recent success Texas had with receivers in the transfer portal. Do you need a specific type? One that has world-class speed, though. That's what DJ's talking about.
I'm less concerned about top end speed. I'm more concerned about, can you find a wide receiver who can be one of your top 3 guys that has punt return experience?
Ooh,
that's where I'm leaning to.
That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah, that's why you'd wish Silas Bowden had another year. Isaiah Bond came back. Then you'd be on the east side.
I did not. I should have. I think that, first of all, the portal doesn't open until April 15th. So we don't know which receivers are going in and not going in until April 15th.
Mm-hmm.
So right now we can't tell you who the fastest one in the portal is and who they should go after exactly. We got to kind of wait and see who enters. Based on what I saw, okay, and this is just me, I think Ryan Wingo is plenty fast to get over the top. You got to remember, the guy ran a 10.500. Okay, Parker Livingstone is a downfield guy. Okay, I know he doesn't run the 10.5, but I'm telling you, he gets on top of you in his gait. He's a long strider, Rod.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys for smaller corners can be really, really difficult downfield.
Yeah, because
they have longer gaits than you're actually. They're just running faster because they're finally legging it out a little bit. I think they need production from this guy. I don't. And now Jeff introduces an interesting point about punt or kick return. But I think they need production from whoever it is. I think they need a guy that they feel like can catch 55 to 65 balls.
Okay.
And do it at a high level. They need – what happens right now if DeAndre Moore goes down? Okay. Dalen McCutcheon going to be your guy? They need another guy that can catch 45, 55, 60 balls. That's my opinion. More so than the guy that takes the top off the defense. We still got to block and tackle here a little bit at wide receiver, in my opinion. So
I brought it up to you, Rod, the other day. Isaiah Bond, his 3 best games last year were with Arch playing quarterback. I know he wasn't coming back, but
still,
sure wish he had decided for one more year.
Oh, man, that offense would be so nasty and scary with that dude coming back with Wingo and DeAndre Moore. Crazy. Thank you, DJ. We appreciate the super chat. Thank you guys all out there for all your questions and your super chats, your participation. We really appreciate it. Thank you to Jeff, as always. Thank you, Bobby, as well. Matthew behind the scenes is the real MVP. And I can't thank you guys enough for joining us today. So keep it tuned here. If anything breaks, keep it tuned here to On Texas Football, OnTexasFootball.com. For Jeff and for Matthew and for Bobby, I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Until next time, hook 'em horns.
Hook 'em. Thank you too, Rod.